Hi there. Welcome to Functional Family Fridays. This is a weekly live platform, an educational platform dedicated to ending the generational cycle of family fear and dysfunction. So, quick warning, if you haven't been on yet or haven't heard any of these videos, this is going to divulge the truth about family dysfunction. So this ultimately hurts some people because they don't want to hear about it. So if you're not prepared to deal with your family pain, then this learning opportunity is not for you. All right. But for those of you that are, welcome and to today's topic. Today we're going to talk about why the generational cycle of family dysfunction keeps happening. After generation after generation after generation. It just seems to ultimately, in my opinion, get worse, not better. So, 3 key reasons: blind parenting, negative parent role models, right? And 21st century parenting, the problems that come with that. So we're going to explore each of these topics and these issues. All right, so what is blind parenting? Doesn't mean that you're a blind person. It means that you're fumbling through parenting with no clue or expectations. So why are parents blind parenting, right? You would think that with all the knowledge on the internet, online, books, this, that parents would be very knowledgeable, okay? But question is, if they were, then why is there still so much dysfunction? Couldn't find the Canadian stats, but in the US, 96% of all families have some form of dysfunction. So clearly, we're not educated enough. So there's no parent manual. Still, you could download a manual for anything. How to fix your toilet. But how to parent effectively, no. Now, you could download parent manuals on how to care for a child, but not how to be a successful, emotionally evolved parent. Okay? So there's no manuals for that. Pretty much, unless you adopt a child, you'll be scrutinized and, looked at under a microscope with respect to parenting. But as far as having your own natural children, as long as you can give birth, you could be a parent. There's no stipulations. So that's really scary, right? So no parent manual. Still to this date, we're blind parenting because parents have no skills or training, as I said. So what they're doing is using what I call the trial and error method, okay? Basically, rolling the dice and hoping that they turn out a winner child. It doesn't work that way, okay? So whether you have 1 child or 5 children, each one is comparably different, right? They all have their own personalities, their own quirks, their own purposes, their own unique skills, and look at the world around us. It's completely, every person in it is unique and different. If that's not a miracle, I don't know what is. And, we need to get fired up about family dysfunction. With COVID-19, the only thing that's not going on is not Rita's bad haircut. I just cut my bangs. It's driving me nuts. But in all seriousness, look what's going on around us in the world today. Okay? Stats are showing, and research is showing, stats are showing, there's an increase in domestic violence, family abuse, child abuse. What is going on? Because we're spending time with toxic families. where before COVID-19, you could at least get out. There was a shelter, but this is making us have to face the reality that family dysfunction does exist, and it's alive and well on planet Earth, and it's getting worse. So this is a time we have to start, pull our head out of the sand, stop pretending that this is not happening, okay? We may not be in control of the world outside us and whatever the hell's going on there, but you do have control of your family unit, all right? You have control of the way you will, shape your children, whether it be positive or negative, whether it be fear-based or whether it be loving. So we do have some control, okay? So it's up to us parents to pull it together, admit that this is real, and that we don't know how to be perfect parents, and we're not supposed to be perfect parents. We don't even know how to be good parents half the time, okay? So you have to learn these skills, all right? So blind parenting, because no parent manual, no skills, no training. We're doing the trial and error method. And what's resulting is we're becoming what I call default parents. We become cookie cutters of our own parents. Perhaps even parents' habits and negative habits that you despise. But when we don't know better, we can't be better and we can't do better. So we become default parents, especially when your energy is low or you're operating in fear, exhaustion, or stress. When your energy is low, what ends up happening is you default to whatever you know instinctively. Let me give you an example. So let's say you're on a diet. You want to lose 20 pounds. All right, you know you have to change your eating habits because your eating habits are unhealthy, right? This is why you have negative body image results that you don't want to see. So you're eating negatively. So when your energy is high and you feel motivated, feel good, feel confident that you could do this, okay, and you have self-love for yourself, then what happens is you're motivated to do it. You're going to prepare the meals, healthy meals ahead of time. You're going to exercise. You're going to stay positive. You're going to stay motivated. But what happens on those diet days when your energy is low? When you're not feeling good, when you're not motivated, when you're starving to death because you didn't prepare healthier meals? You're going to reach for or default to an old habit, an old meal that's not healthy for you. So that's what happens with parenting. When our energy is low and we're not motivated, we're dealing with emotional issues, stress, anxiety, depression, we're going to default back to old negative parenting styles that don't help our children grow, be happy, and evolve. And this is how dysfunction is created, okay? So you have to start, you end up becoming that cookie cutter, a mirror image of you catch yourself sounding like your mother or behaving like your father when you swore you'd never do that. That's why it happens, okay? Because you're defaulting and you have no other options. In fact, I want to give you a short little story on how people just blindly default to what was versus thinking for themselves. So there was a little girl watching her mother prepare a roast beef, right? So the mother had a square pan, put the roast beef in, and she cut all the corners of the roast beef to make the roast beef round in shape. And the little girl was surprised. She said, "Mommy, why do you cut the corners of the roast beef in a square pan?" She goes, "Oh, because that's what you're supposed to do. My mother did that. Your grandmother did that." She goes, "Oh." So the next day or so, grandmother comes over to visit. And the little girl, inquisitive girl, says, "Grandma, Mommy says that you cut the corners of the roast beef when you put it in a square pan. She goes, oh yes. She goes, because my mother used to do it. And she goes, well, why did she do that? She goes, well, back in the older days when life was scarce and they didn't have a lot of things, my mother only had a round dish to put the roast beef. So she had to cut the corners of the roast beef so it would fit. And then I learned to do that, and your mother learned to do that. So the moral of this quick story is that nobody ever questions, except that little inquisitive girl, why parents just keep inheriting these habits, traditions, beliefs that perhaps no longer serve 21st century parenting. So I want you to be that inquisitive 20 little girl who's questioning some of the methodologies that you learned and you're defaulting to, okay? Don't just default. Ask questions. Does it still work with my children in the 21st century? If not, then you need to change some things, okay? So the other point I want to talk about why the cycle of dysfunction keeps happening is point 2, which is negative parent role models. So again, negative attracts negative, positive attracts positive. So if you already came out the chute with negative parent role models, you know, the poor children that don't know any better than to be what their parents are, okay? And the cycle continues. So in my case, my parents didn't really start off completely negative, but they never healed themselves, so it just got progressively worse, their negativity, until they became negative role models to me. So what I mean by that is negative parent role models are fear-focused. They tend to be ego-based. They tend to have a lot of stress around them, sarcasm, negativity, and functioning around a lot of insecurities. So they're very fear-based, right? And they will express emotions, negative emotions. So they're parenting with negative emotions, what I call emotionally unhealthy, okay? So they are typically unhappy, they're angry, they're resentful, depressed, whatever the negative emotion is, they're operating in. And they tend to be depressed, suffer from anxiety, some even have suicidal thoughts and attempt suicide, okay? So they're emotionally unhealthy. This is why they're unhappy and they become negative role models. They're also negative role models are also emotionally unavailable parents, okay? Because they're so caught up on their own stress and their own life and their own problems and issues that they become emotionally unavailable to their child, all right? This tends to be very popular with divorced parents, okay? When you're divorced, and I could speak from my own experience, you've got so many more concerns as a divorced single parent that a lot of times you are emotionally unavailable. You know what, Bobby? Go watch TV. Mommy's got to work on something, because you're doing the work of two people. You're highly stressed. You're, low energy. So this is what ends up happening. And especially with the use of cell phones, technology, we become even more unavailable to our children than ever before, okay? This is dismissive behavior. When you are not available for your child, there's nothing more emotional, damaging, and hurtful than dismissive behavior. You may as well do this, okay? It's like turning your back on your child. And what that's saying to them, I'm not important to my mommy or daddy. Their phone is more important than me, than what I have to say, okay? their own problems are more important than me. Okay? Remember, you took an oath as a parent to be there for your child, to care for your child, to love your child unconditionally. Okay? So don't fall victim to all of this negative behavior, especially with the world we're living in right now. It's so easy to slip into fear. It's so easy. Okay? The other reason that we have negative parent role models is because some parents, they lose themselves because of their fear in addiction, addictive behavior. They either start drinking too much, drugs, or whatever the addiction is. Could be even what we call a positive addiction. They could be working out 7 days a week, or working on their computers. And it seems positive, but it is an addiction, okay? And you're giving away that valuable time that you should be, cultivating an emotional, relationship with your child instead. Another way that parents become negative role models is by their negative behavior being controlling, very controlling people. So they instill fear into the child, right? Abusive, or even, God forbid, violent, all right? These parents that are operating under control, violence, physical violence, mental, emotional violence, abusive behavior, you are not a healthy role model for your child right now. And that, I'm not saying, and I'm not here to judge you, but you need to hear the truth, that your behavior is detrimental, hurting your child right now, okay? Because you're putting fear in your child. Your child feels afraid to approach you. And it could even be an adult child who's afraid, who's lived with many, many, many years of a controlling, abusive, negative parent who's now afraid and has learned behavior to not approach their parent anymore. So now they're internalizing all this damage and all their negativity. And guess what? The cycle will continue. Okay? So that's what ends up happening. And finally, I want to talk about 21st century parenting, what I call the two problems. Okay? Too busy, too liberal, too distracted, too tired, too fearful. 21st century problems, parenting problems. We're so busy. And you know what? And we're so liberal. We're so busy doing what? Okay? So this is about managing your household so you have time to nurture your family relationships. Don't take your relationships for granted, ever. Okay? Because in this day and age, as you can see, with the world we're living in, anything could happen. Which also means you could lose, loving family relationships because you're too busy. All right, and I'm sure that's what's happening in the world right now. It's a lesson to slow down. We're also, 21st century parents, too liberal. My parents were so controlling about this. I'm going to let my child do this, 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 and this. Boundaries, people. They still need boundaries and guidelines and family rules, okay? And you enforce them with love and respect. But you need to still enforce them. You can't be the loosey-goosey parent who's saying, do whatever you want, eat whatever you want, smoke whatever you want, drink whatever you want. No, there needs to be guidelines, okay? Otherwise, because guidelines show and rules show the child that the parent actually cares enough to enforce them. When you don't enforce them and you're so liberal, the child will internalize that like my parents don't give a shit about me. Okay? You may think you're giving them freedom, but that's really not what they want. Okay? The next two problem is distracted. Again, we talked about the cell phone. Stop, put the phone down. Focus and look into your child's eyes when you speak to them, or any family member, or anyone for that matter. That's a form of respect. Okay? I hear you. I'm listening. You're important to me. What you have to say is important to me. Don't be doing this and going, yeah, keep talking. I'm listening. No, you're not. That is the epitome of insulting somebody. Put the phone down. All right? Pay attention to what they're saying to you. You know, I have so many clients come to me saying, you know, my child is suffering from depression, this, that. Characteristically, the same problems the parents are having. Well, guess what? Because they don't know how to cope with it. You haven't taught them any coping skills, and now they themselves have no coping skills, and they have nowhere to put all this negativity that we've told them to push down. Okay? So the next two problem is too tired. We're too tired. We're exhausted. And rightly so. Because we're trying to keep up with everything, everyone. We're not. We're abusing our sleep patterns. We're not getting the right amount of rest. We're not letting our minds relax, meditate, dump all that stimulus that we're getting each and every day. This is why we're exhausted. We're mentally exhausted, we're physically exhausted, and we're emotionally exhausted. Okay? So time for, time to learn, time to rest. You got to put that balance in. And we're too fearful. Okay? We are being inundated by fear, and rightly so. Okay? With all that's going on. But we have to take things into moderation, because we have to go back to listening to our intuition. We listen to some of the propaganda, the news, people that we love, comments, opinions. It's okay to listen and have an open mind, but at the end of the day, don't let fear consume you. Go back, quiet the mind, go for a walk, and follow your intuition. I don't know about you, but the only one that I'm trusting is God right now. And the only way I hear from God right now is through my intuition. So follow the lead of your intuition. That will lead you to the truth. It always does. And when we follow the truth of our intuition, we'll be less likely to be controlled by fear. Okay? Fear, again, plays a good role in our life because it keeps us busy and it stops us from doing dangerous, stupid things to ourselves. However, it's not meant to control us. We're not meant to be controlled by it. So those are the 3 points and the 3 reasons why the generational cycle of family dysfunction keeps happening. Blind parenting, all right, default parenting, or parenting like our parents, okay? Negative parent role models. Your parents weren't emotionally healthy, and you may have inherited their same coping mechanisms that's making you parent unhealthy in an emotional way. 21st century parenting, too much too problems. So, how do we fix this? Know that the cycle of dysfunction will continue to keep on, downloading generation after generation if you continue to parent in a fear-based way, okay? So remember, family dysfunction is fear. It's a family based in fear. Functional families function basically in love, okay? That's the difference, all right? So how do we fix this? In order to break the cycle of family dysfunction, parents need to emotionally evolve themselves so that they'll parent with love, not fear. That's the answer. It's very simple. You need to go back to a place of love and eliminate the fear in your parenting style, okay? Parents that have emotional intelligence, what we call EI, have the ability to raise happy, authentic, emotionally healthy children, right? Those parents that parent with the I are called conscious parents, okay? Notice I didn't say perfect parents. I said conscious parents, okay? They're emotionally aware of their children's need to be loved, valued, and feel important, okay? And authentic. And stop treating all your children the same, because they're all very unique, okay? So what's interesting is we've evolved the physical aspects of parenting, which means, you could get very fancy strollers, car seats, high-tech baby monitors, but yet parents have still remained emotionally unevolved, meaning we're still not, we're not parenting at that emotional caliber that we can. That's basically an unconditional love, okay? We're becoming default parents because we're letting fear consume us. So in order to have that functional family, stop the cycle. You have to evolve emotionally as a parent. Because remember, you're the leader of your family. Your children are looking up to you. So you've got to pull it together. You got to be strong. You got to be emotionally healthy, mentally healthy, physically healthy to do this job. It's the toughest job in the whole world, okay? I mean, think about it. We would never hire somebody to do a job that was the most difficult job to do without training, without knowledge, without some expertise, but yet we're stepping into parenting generation after generation, completely blind, completely ignorant, and just rolling the dice and hoping our children work out well. And we keep telling ourselves, well, I turned out well, so, my parents must do something right. I'm not saying they did everything wrong, but you're living in a whole different world if you haven't noticed. Look what's going on in the world right now. Your parents 50 years ago didn't need to deal with any of this. Life was very simple then, very serene. So your parenting needs to be completely conscious. You need to be on the ball more than ever, okay? So this is no longer an excuse we could use. If you want a functional family, then we have to become more evolved than our parents were, okay? And that's what it means, becoming a conscious parent, okay? That's what's going to break the cycle. So the good news is I can help you with that. All right, that's my expertise. My expertise is to help parents emotionally evolve into happy, strong, confident, unconditionally loving parents, okay? So with that, I'm going to let you go. Thank you for investing in your family's health and happiness, okay, by tuning in. So I want to give you a free gift for being here today. So I want to give you a chapter of my book, the first chapter of my book, which is called The Evolution of Family, okay? And you'll read it and it will blow your mind about how much the world has changed in that short time, okay? So if you want the free chapter to the book, then email me or text me and I'll fire that off to you, okay? The other thing I want to say, if you haven't already, is I have a free emotional checklist for parents who are listening and want to start emotionally evolving into, okay? So go to my website, thefunctionalfamily.ca, and on the home page, you'll see the sign up, and you'll get that immediately, okay? And if you're not following me on Instagram, YouTube, please do. Look for Reiki Rita Roberts, okay? Also, join this group called Stressful Family Relationships, because again, every week I'll be doing new lives where you can learn about how to transform a dysfunctional family into a functional family, okay? So with that, I will say goodbye Take care. Be well. Stay safe. All right? And don't give up hope for your family. Keep on staying hopeful that good things will come. There's a reason that all of this is happening in the world. This is a wake-up call. This is for all of us to really look down deep inside of us, all right, and see what's happening in our lives, within ourselves. Are we happy? Is our family healthy? Are our children safe, happy? Okay? This is a wake-up call. So this is a perfect time for us now to start reinvesting in our family relationships, because at the end of the day, that's all we really have. Okay? They could change things in our outer world, but all we have is the family and the love there. Okay? So please take the time to invest in it. God bless you. Stay safe, and I'll see you next Friday on the Functional Family Fridays. God bless. Be well.